So what is a hook? Isn't that just a chorus? A hook is a little different. I'm going to play you two parts of a song and I want you to guess which one of these is the hook, A or B. If your guess was B, you are totally right. However, if your guess was A, you are also right. Hi, my name is Eline Vera and today I am breaking down 5 powerful tips to help you write a killer hook and produce it so it actually hits like the pros. You can look at these tips as helpful guidelines to break through writer's block and get your creative energy flowing. By the way, I'm only using beats from BandLab beats in this video to write my hooks on, so if you get inspired by the music you hear, you have access to these beats yourself. If you didn't know, BandLab Beats is a royalty-free beat marketplace with over 1,000 ready-made beats across genres like hip-hop, pop and rock that you can use for your own music releases. Let's play a little game. I'm going to play you 2 parts of a song and I want you to guess which one of these is the hook, A or B. If your guess was B, you are totally right. However, if your guess was A, you are also right. Let me explain. So what is a hook? Simply said, a hook in a song is the part you remember when the song is over. It is this special moment in a song that makes it really memorable and identifiable. Now you might think, isn't that just a chorus? Well, yes, but not always. A chorus is a full section of a song. It usually repeats, carries the main message, and it feels bigger than the verses. A hook is a little different. A hook is usually a specific phrase or melodic moment that stands out the most. Sometimes the entire chorus feels catchy, but most of the time there's this one line that people remember more than the rest. That line is the hook. So in short, a chorus is a structural section of your song. A hook is the most memorable phrase or moment. The hook often lives inside the chorus, and a chorus without a strong hook won't feel super catchy. With every tip I'm sharing, I'm going to intentionally build a chorus that includes one very strong hook line. That hook line will also be our song title, and I'll show you how to repeat it creatively elsewhere in the song to really lock it into people's heads. Tip number 1, start with sound, not lyrics. My writing process almost always starts with freestyling. Now, I've always believed that it's the relationship between lyrics and melody that make a hook work, but most of the time I don't start with the lyrics. I just start with singing gibberish sounds. I'll loop the instrumental and just start singing nonsense syllables until something sticks. Usually your intuition knows what ideas work best, so I'm not going to try to be poetic here. I'm just looking for something that feels really good to sing. Now this is where comping becomes a really powerful tool. I can go through all of these takes and combine my favorite moments into one rough draft. Maybe I love the rhythm of this take, but the ending of that other one. I'll just stitch them together and suddenly something starts to feel intentional. And here's something important. Your best hook ideas may often come when you least expect them. So when you're waiting on the subway or walking down the street. Whenever that happens, I try to record the idea immediately. And even if it's just on my phone, sometimes that raw, spontaneous take even ends up being the one I use. There's something about the vibe in that exact moment that's hard to recreate. So if I use one of those rough recordings, I'll just run it through Voice Cleaner first. That way I can remove the background noise and make it usable before I continue producing. Tip number 2, keep it simple. Our brains love patterns, so if someone can sing along with your song after hearing it once or twice, you've done something right. That's why keeping your melody simple is probably the best way to go when you want to write something that's easy to remember. Keeping it simple can of course also apply to writing your lyrics, so this might sound super obvious, but I found it very helpful. If you want your hook's lyrics to be remembered, write less to remember. Now let's come up with the right lyrics for this melody. I tried to listen to the syllables I recorded in my gibberish ideas to see if I can find words that naturally fit with that. So let loose, baby, let your wild heart move, baby. Let loose, baby, let your wild heart move. Let's keep it simple. We don't need nothing but a little booze, yeah, shake off the weak. So let loose. Yes, I think we got it. Once I found lyrics that feel natural to sing, I'll use the AI effects generator to quickly build a vocal chain before I record my hook. Sometimes hearing it slightly more polished helps you decide if the hook has potential.
The weak, let loose, let loose, let loose. Baby, let your wild heart move. We don't need nothing but a little booze. Yeah, shake off the weak, so let loose.
Tip number 3 is make it rhythmically addictive. A lot of the time, what makes a hook memorable isn't just the notes themselves, it is how they move in time. So in other words, the rhythm. If a phrase has a rhythm that feels really good to repeat, your brain just naturally wants to follow along. You'll often hear things like repeating syllables, syncopation, short pauses between phrases, or patterns that feel percussive. And even when a melody is quite simple, that rhythmic shape can make it incredibly addictive. If you want to push it even further, production tools can really help emphasize rhythm. Let me show you a few ways to do that inside BandLab. Listen to this hook I recorded. Now I'm going to apply the gator tool to this track. What gator does is cut your vocal in and out following the rhythm you set. So instead of the phrase playing smoothly, it gets broken into rhythmic pulses. You can also use Pumper for something similar. Pumper creates more of a sidechain effect where the volume rhythmically ducks and swells with the tempo. Here's what that sounds like. Both of these tools are great, especially for electronic style vocal production, because they instantly add movement to your vocal and help your hook stand out. Another great way to add rhythm to your hook sections is by creating vocal chops with sampler. In my hook section, I purposely left a few gaps between the lines so I could fill them with something catchy. To do that, I'm importing my lead vocal into the sampler and experimenting with different notes and rhythms until I find something that feels right. Once I hear something catchy, I record it and then I'll quickly add a few effects like the BL driver, visual EQ, delay and the studio reverb to give it some extra character. So you've wrote a strong melody with a catchy lyric. Now it is time to emphasize what works. There's a lot of ways to do that, so let me go through a few ideas and let me show you what it sounds like in the hook I wrote. The first one is adding a break in your instrumental. Removing all the instruments right on your hook causes your listener to focus on just your hook, which then of course makes it a lot more memorable. In our case, the hook is also the song title, which strengthens it even more. This is what it sounds like.
Baby, let your wild heart move. We don't need nothing but a little booze. Yeah, shake off the weak, so let loose.
If you want to create a break in your instrumental, you can just simply cut and drag your audio to remove the instruments. But if you want a bit more control, you can use Splitter to separate your song into elements like drums, bass, and guitars, and then decide exactly which parts you want to keep during the break. The second way to emphasize your hook is adding more vocals and harmonies to it. Depending on your song style, you can use other vocal textures to make it sound like people are singing along with your hook in a call and response type of way. Now, this works especially well in country and pop music, but even for styles like hip hop and trap, adding some extra vocal layers in your hook part really make it stand out. A quick and easy way to do that is by using Voice Changer. I simply recorded a bunch of vocals that I converted to different voices to make my hook go from this
So let loose, baby, let your wild heart move. Kick off your worries like old work boots. Yeah, shake off the weak, let loose.
To this.
Let loose, baby, let your wild heart move. We don't need nothing but a little booze. Yeah, shake off the weak, so let loose.
Tip number 5, repeat, repeat, repeat. The beauty about a strong hook is that it can be used in other sections of your song as well. This is oftentimes done to really make sure the melody gets stuck in your head, even before the usual song structure gets time to fully play out. The trick is to do it in a way that feels intentional and not overdone. So for instance, in our case, we can use a stripped down version of our hook as the intro of the song, so that the first time the chorus and hook come around, it's actually already sounding more familiar. To give it a slightly different character than our lead vocal later on in the track, I'm going to tweak the effects a bit. I'm adding a slapback delay with filter echo, and I'm adding the one knob brighter.
Yeah, shake off the weak, let loose,
And this is what we have.
So let loose, baby, let your wild heart move. Kick off your worries like old work boots. Yeah, shake off the weak, let loose.
These were my 5 tips to create a killer hook, but I do have one bonus tip for you. Now, my last tip doesn't really have to do anything with what we've created, but I did want to share because it often helps me find inspiration whenever I'm stuck. A great way to break through writer's block is to analyze music that you actually enjoy. Now that you know what to listen for when it comes to choruses and hooks, deep dive into your own favorite playlists and try to dissect every single song to determine what the hook is and why it is so catchy. It's a great way to train your ear and get inspired for your next song.
So let loose, baby, let your wild heart move. Kick off your worries like old work boots. Yeah, shake off the weak, let loose. Baby, let your wild heart move. We don't need nothing but a little booze. Yeah, shake off the weak, so let loose.
And that's it. I hope this video gave you some new inspiration, and if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments down below and I'll try my best to answer. My name is Eline Vera, here with BandLab. I will see you in the next one and keep creating music. Oh, and go write something people won't forget.